So what I want us to do is I want us to understand more about the different chagim than we do. And in order to do that, the best way to do that is not just to learn about the chag, which is what you've done every year at school, and it's fantastic. What we're going to do is we're going to take the Mishnayos, okay, and instead of doing Pirkei Avot, and from now until Sukkot, so it's another 2.5 months, we're going to learn the Mishnayot that apply to Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, all of those different things. And in doing that, what we'll do is we'll get a much deeper understanding of what Rosh Hashanah is, what Yom Kippur is, what Sukkot is, how it works, why it works, and all the things that you know will start fitting into place. And Bezrat Hashem, you'll also learn a whole lot of new things. Okay, so let's go and let's see how we go with this thing. Oops, hold on. Okay. Why does it go like that? I'm trying to get the speaker view. Why is it going on Benji Waxman? Okay. Okay, so what I want to do is the following. I am going to go. We're going to start with the first Mishnah in Mishnah Rosh Hashanah. Okay, everybody's got the list, or must I share the screen, guys? Has everybody got the documents? I'd much rather everybody use the
Can you please share the screen?
Share the screen, okay. I'm going to do that now. Give me 1 second. Okay. Let's see, share the screen. It's not the one I wanted. I have to find it now. Give me a second. Sorry, guys. Okay, so you'll see on my screen is Mishnah Rosh Hashanah. So we are going to start and we're going to go. We are going to try and understand these Mishnayot. So I am here at the top. Arba'a Roshei Shanim Hem. So some of you guys that were in Mishnah Milka Mazonis, I think have done some of these, but it's okay because we're just doing Chazorah. What ideally would be an amazing thing is actually to learn these like really well so you really know them. But let's see. We're going to go a little bit slower. The reason why we're going to go a little bit slower is because these Mishnayot are not like Pirkei Avot. They're not teaching us life lessons. They're teaching us halachot. And halachot are sometimes a little bit more difficult. Let's go. Arba'a Roshei Shanim Haim. There are 4 new years. So we know Rosh Hashanah. How many other Rosh Hashanahs you know? You know Rosh Hashanah le'ilanot, right? So we're going to see, so there's Rosh Hashanah, which is in Tishrei, Rosh Hashanah le'ilanot, which is when? When is Rosh Hashanah le'ilanot? Come on, you all know, I want to hear an answer.
Tu B'Shvat.
Tu B'Shvat, Rosh Hashanah le'ilanot, right? Okay, now let's have a look here and see. So it says the Mishnah, Be'echad B'Nisan, on the first day of Nisan, is Rosh Hashanah LaMelachim VeLaRegalim. What does that mean? It means that it's the Rosh Hashanah, it's the beginning of the year for Melachim. So we're in the old days, and even supposed today, but in the old days, when the kings were made into kings, okay? So the king, the way they would date the documents. So like, you know, you put the date today is the whatever, the 3rd of August. In those days, and the 3rd of August 2020, or it's, you know, it's Av, Tafshin, what's it, Ayin Pei, right? Right, so it's that's how we date it. In those days, in the old days, they would date it according to how long the king had been the king. So let's say the king became the king in, what's the month before Nisan, guys?
Adar.
Very good. It's the month of Adar. The month of Adar is the month. So let's say the king became the king in Adar, then the Nisan, the month of Nisan, which is the month after Adar, becomes the 2nd year of his reign. Do you understand that? So just because just because he's only been a king for 1 month, it means that because the Nisan is the new year, so therefore he becomes the second year of his kingship. And for Regalim, what are the Regalim? The Shalosh Regalim, Pesach, Shavuot, and Sukkot. When do we start counting? We count them from Pesach. So Pesach, Shavuot, Sukkot, that's the order. Even though the year is Rosh Hashanah from Pesach, from Rosh Hashanah, which means that the first regal after Rosh Hashanah is Shavuot. We count our years from when? Not from Rosh Hashanah. We count our year from Nisan. Okay, so that's the first Rosh Hashanah. That's the first of Nisan. The second Rosh Hashanah is Be'echad Be'elul. The second Rosh Hashanah is on the first of Elul. And what is that Rosh Hashanah? The Rosh Hashanah of the first of Elul is what's called Rosh Hashanah L'Ma'asar Behema. Rosh Hashanah for Ma'aseh Behema. What is Ma'aseh Behema? Anyone know what Ma'aseh Behema means? So the way it works is that you have to give 10%. It's called a tithe. 10% of your animals to tzedakah, to the Beis Hamikdash. Okay. Now you're not allowed to give. Let's say I've got 100 animals. And now I have to give 10 of those animals, right? And let's say it's now Elul, and I get another 100 animals. I have to make sure that I give my 10 animals from before Elul and my 10 animals from after Elul. I can't mix them up. It's got to be separate. Elul is the day, is the month that starts that new Rosh Hashanah. Does everybody understand that, guys? You need to tell me yes or no, because you don't, then I'll repeat it. But I need to hear that you understand. Yeah. Everyone understand that?
Yes.
Terrific. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, that's Rabbi Elazar and Rabbi Shimon Omrim. Rabbi Elazar and Rabbi Shimon say, hold on a second. That you said is the first of Elul. Now why should be the first of Elul? It's not the first of Elul. It's Be'echad B'Tishrei. It's the first of Tishrei. That, remember, it is Rabbi Elazar and Rabbi Shimon. And then he says Be'echad. So they don't agree that the second Rosh Hashanah is a different date from the first of Tishrei. Then the Mishnah carries on, Be'echad B'Tishrei, on the first of Tishrei, Rosh Hashanah Lashanim V'Lashmitim V'Layovlot V'Lanatiyah V'Yerakot. It's a big Rosh Hashanah. It's a Rosh Hashanah for what? For the years. We know you count the years from that time. For Shemitah, you know what Shemitah is. Shemitah after the 7th year, you have to leave. You're not allowed to touch the land. And Yovel is the 50th year. That's 7 times 7. All works out by through Rosh Hashanah. La Nitiyah. What does Nitiyah mean? It means planting. V'la Yerakot. And for vegetables. Now, why would you plant? Why is it so important when you plant your trees? Anybody know? There's a very important halakha. And I'll tell you something interesting about that halakha. What's that yes, Taron Simon, what's the halakha? About planting trees. And why it's so important to know how old trees are. Who knows, guys?
Isn't there, I forgot what the year is called, but you have to, you can't work your trees until that year or something.
Ah, very good, very good. Okay, so there is, Jonathan, you got your hand up, or are you stretching? Okay, you got your hand up. Okay, so what, tell me what, do you know what it's called?
I don't know what it's called, but isn't it, you have to wait 3 years until you can eat its fruit?
Very good, so we're almost there. So the Torah tells us it's a thing called Orla. What's it called? Orla. Ayin, Resh, Lamed, Hey. Orla. What is Orla? Orla means that when you plant a tree, when a Jew plants a tree, it has to be in the ground for 3 years before I can touch anything on the tree. After 3 years, in the 4th year, you take the produce of the tree and you give it to where? To the Beis Hamikdash, right? And then, and that's what Doron was talking about, and then after that, in the 5th year, you can eat the produce. Now, where do you know anything about 3 years? Something about 3 years with children. Do any of you know anything about 3 years with children? Yes, Doron? No? Okay, Rafi?
I do. Once you're 3 years old, you're supposed to start keeping Shabbos and more mitzvot.
So 3 is the time where we start introducing children to mitzvah. Yes, Daron, go for it.
When you have your opshariness.
Oh, why do you have your option when you're 3 years old? Why don't you have it when you're 2 or 4 or 6 or 8 or something like that? Why does a boy have it when he's 3 years old? The reason he does that is because at the age of 3, Alon, is that what you were going to say? Option.
Yeah.
Good man. Because at the age of 3, that's where we start introducing our children to mitzvot. So with a boy, there are different mitzvot, because a boy is not allowed to cut his payers, okay? And a boy has when he's older, he'll have tefillin and all the different things on his head. And so therefore, the minhag is to have an opsharon for a boy. I've always wanted to do something for girls also, but I don't know what. So I'm working on that. Okay, so hopefully by the time you guys have children that are 3 years old, we'll have a good thing for the girls' option, because you don't want to cut their hair, you know. Wouldn't be nice, you know, the girl has short hair. But anyway, we can think about that, and there's no point in cutting their hair, because the girls don't have the mitzvahs that the boys have of payers and of tefillin and things like that, which are all part of that. So that's when it says about planting trees. It's talking about that how when you start defining how old the tree is, whether or not it applies to whether or not Orla applies to that tree. Okay. Yes, Alon, go for it, bud.
Why does it only have to be boys? Why can't it also be girls?
So that's what I'm
Is it
saying.
because man was created first? Or
I don't know. The truth is, I think the only reason why it happens with boys is because in the old days, girls weren't really taught Torah like they are today, and I think it's a throwback to the old days, and I think we should do something about it. Because could you imagine having a special thing for girls? Rafi, I'm sure you would have liked that, right? And Kira, to have something special for girls, that we have an option. And an option, well, not an option, you're not going to cut their hair, but you can do something that also introduces
I know what we do.
What?
We light our first candles, like
Oh,
Shabbos candles.
that is a beautiful idea. You light your first candles. Beautiful, beautiful. So maybe that's what we should do. I mean, maybe we should make something bigger out of it, something that's special, so that girls really feel that way. Yes, but not all girls under bat mitzvah or light candles. Yes.
Wouldn't it be a bit dangerous for a 3-year-old to be holding a flame?
Well, with her parents, with her parents, your mother would not let you light a flame on your own now either, right? Okay, so let's go. Okay, guys, you got it. So let's finish this. We nearly finished the first Mishnah of Rosh Hashanah. Then comes along the Mishnah and says, Be'echad b'shvat. Listen carefully to the words. Be'echad b'shvat, which is the first day of Shvat. Rosh Hashanah le'ilan. Ooh. It's the Rosh Hashanah le'ilan is on the first of Shvat. Kedivrei Beit Shammai. That's what Beit Shammai says. Comes along Beit Hillel and says, no, you're wrong. It's not on the first of Shvat. It's where? B'chamisha asar bo. It's on the 15th of Shvat. And you see we have a massive machlokas between Beit Hillel and Beit Shammai as to when is it that the day is important for the ilanot, for the trees. So according to Beit Shammai, it's when? It's the first of Shvat. According to Beit Hillel, who we paskin like, it's what? It's the 15th of Shvat, and that's what we call Tu B'Shvat. So we've just learned now an important Mishnah, because the most important part of this Mishnah is that this Mishnah teaches us, by the way, what does it mean? Why is it so important, the 15th of Shvat, before we get to the importance of the Mishnah? What happens on the 15th of Shvat? When is it in the calendar? Work it out carefully.
It's when the moon's a full moon.
So number one, it's a full moon, which means it's the middle of the month and it's going towards the new month, 100%. Okay, what's
the blossom starts?
Say again?
The blossom starts in Israel.
Ah, not yet. When do the blossoms start? In spring, right? That's when spring. When is spring? What's the Chag HaAviv, Chevra?
Pesach.
Pesach is the Chag HaAviv. So that's when the blossoms, but Alon, you're not wrong. You know why you're not wrong? Because the blossoms come out in Pesach, okay? Which is, so it's Shvat, it's Tu B'Shvat, Adar, and then it's Nisan. What day of Nisan is Pesach?
The 15th.
The 15th of Nisan. So how far is it from Tu B'Shvat? 2 months. Right, you got that? So what takes 2 months to bring the blossoms? You know what takes 2 months to bring the blossoms, guys? Is that slowly but surely the tree starts becoming alive again. Slowly but surely, it's called Batar Chanata. The sap in the trees starts coming up from the roots into the tree, and it starts making the tree alive again. And the blossoms that you see are just simply the proof that the tree is alive again. And that's what we're celebrating. We're celebrating spring. We're celebrating being alive again. And that's why it's so important that we understand that according to Beis Shammai, it takes a month and a half. Sorry, 2.5 months. According to Beis Hillel, it's only 2 months. It's from the 15th of Shvat until the 15th of Nisan that the process of becoming spring starts. And that's what we've got to remember, guys. This Mishnah is telling us so important things. We've got 4 Arba Rosh Hashanah. Rosh Hashanah, we don't only speak about Rosh Hashanah, which we know as Rosh Hashanah. That Rosh Hashanah is the Rosh Hashanah of the world. Our Rosh Hashanah is the Rosh Hashanah of Nisan, which is the Rosh Hashanah of Am Yisrael. Then there's a Rosh Hashanah of the kings. That's an important. That's also in Nisan. Then you've got a Rosh Hashanah of the Ma'aser Behema, of taking your tithes from the animals, and finally you've got the Rosh Hashanah of the Ilanot, of the trees, and all those things come together to make this beautiful world that we live in. All those things are the things allow us to believe in HaKadosh Baruch Hu as we do, and what we're going to do. Carrying on. We're going to continue with learning these Mishnayos. I want to ask you guys, 1 second.